It can be a very tough time for people to talk about these events, to have something like this that you never hope happens in your community, you hope you never experience, and you hope you don't hear about very often. But unfortunately we do, and unfortunately in this case, it was our community this time that was struck by senseless violence at Temple Israel on Thursday. Joining us now to explain some ways that we can perhaps begin those conversations with our family and provide support to our community is Birmingham Maple Clinic therapist Carrie Krawiec. Carrie, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on in a difficult time, and especially with your expertise in family therapy in particular. This can be a really difficult conversation, in particular for parents to have with their kids, especially when it happens in your community. So it's a very big question. It's a loaded question. Where should parents perhaps start in having those conversations with their kids?
I actually love the way you recognize this, because I think one of the first things is, of course, parents need to take care of themselves. You hear it all the time, but when you're in the airplane, when the mask comes down, you have to put it on yourself before you help anyone else. And so it is so important for parents to find ways to regulate themselves before they start touching base with their kids, even if they're experiencing their kids in a high degree of need. For kids, depending on their age, it's so important to ask them what they know and what they've heard. Before you interject any new information, try to sift through what they've heard and what they think they know and try to make sense of that. And then as you can clarify what's real and what's not real, then there's an opportunity to move forward after that.
There may be a little bit of irony, unfortunately, in me asking this, but there's so much coverage of this that you'll get from in your community, so much you'll get from the local, state, national media, a lot of speculation. What's your advice in terms of people navigating that, keeping in the know, knowing what's going on, especially when it's happened close to home in their community, without overwhelming themselves with information that's quite sad?
Sure. And what a great question. So in one part, we are all designed to connect with each other during periods of stress. And I think just talking to my colleagues that are of the Jewish faith and stuff, they're answering tons of text messages, tons of phone calls from their clients, from their friends. So there's this desire to connect. And there's a desire to reach out to media for also that connection. And so connecting during one of these stressful opportunities is good, but there does also need to be an opportunity for rest. We need stress and rest. So there does need to be a time where we take a pause or a break and say, hey, look, we are going to shut off the phones for the night, or we're going to turn off the TV for the night. And we need to kind of cleanse those moments, because there are times to dig in and then there are times to reprieve. And so we need both stress and rest, and we cannot sustain stress. So you do need to book in periods of rest.
What was quite profound in the wake of what happened on Thursday at Temple Israel was the immediate support that came out from the community. We think especially about those right across the street at Shenandoah Country Club, predominantly a Chaldean entity where it houses the Chaldean Community Center. It's those of a different faith. They're mostly Iraqi Christians, and they provided immediate housing, immediate support. They fed children. So many stories of that already on social media. In the immediate wake of something as harrowing and as heinous happening right here in your community, psychologically, what does that immediate support from your friends, from your neighbors, from complete strangers mean to people that experienced that firsthand?
Connecting is good for both the giver and the receiver. So during periods of stress, the stress hormones, the oxytocin, the just oxygen flow through the body. So even from a physiological standpoint, connecting during periods of stress is both good for the giver and the receiver. So, it was so amazing, right? To see the community and even the desire. There were people who desired, some went to the scene to, get their children or whatever, and some just went to the scene to connect. And although that can interfere, it's also so important to know that making connections, physical connections, whether it's gentle physical touch, whether it's, hey, I'm thinking about you, I saw this thing and it reminded me of you, connections are stress relieving. And so like during a period of stress, it's important to acknowledge that making connections are good for all of us.
Carrie Krawiec is joining us, a licensed family therapist from the Birmingham Maple Clinic, on today's edition of the Splash Live, as we get the community's reaction in the wake of the attack Thursday at Temple Israel in West Bloomfield Township. Carrie, you mentioned so much about connecting in the aftermath. Good for those that are reaching out and good for those that are being reached out to. So many people want to provide that support, especially to those at Temple Israel, to those in the local Jewish community, so heavily and directly affected by this act of violence in our community. But there is right and wrong ways to go about that in a way that's sensitive, that's empathetic, that's providing support without overwhelming those directly traumatized. How do you balance that?
Right. I mean, I think part of it is acknowledging your own insensitivity, and to say like, I'm doing my best, like I'm feeling compelled to do something or say something, but I'm not certain it's the right thing or the right time. I mean, I think offering yourself that little asterisk and offering that to a person, kind of taking a bird's eye view, and like, you might want to say something and just say it, impulsively, but if you could like kind of take an inventory of, well, here's what I want to say, and here are all of my guesses how it might be received, and then presenting that as almost like little hodgepodge of like, here's really what is going on in my heart, and this is how it's coming out of my mouth. But if it's not right, please correct me, please tell me, please help me help you better.
And there are some subtle ways too that people can simply just reach out and be like, look, maybe I don't know how you're feeling in this moment. If you're willing to immediately have me speak to you about this, or if I just want to say I'm a listening ear, what are some subtle ways you can present that to somebody maybe in the Temple Israel community or others that may be mourning what happened here in West Bloomfield?
I think it's exactly like what you said. I think it's saying like, I want to be a safe person to you, and I may be an imperfectly safe person to you, but like, please allow me to be that. And if you need me, I'm here for you. If you need me to, care for you in some kind of way, like I'm ready and available. And like, I just think, like you said, is offering that, like, it won't be perfect. And sometimes well-meaning gestures get misread or misunderstood. So just being able to sort of like see, like, outside of yourself, this is what I want to do, but this is how it might come across, and present both of those to the other party, and then let them choose. And if they say, look, I'm good, I'm overwhelmed, I've talked enough, I've heard enough, I've seen enough, then respect it.
If you want to reach out to Carrie and the team at the Birmingham Maple Clinic, their website, birminghammaple.com, as we discuss how to begin coping with what happened in West Bloomfield Township for those directly affected by the attack at Temple Israel. Carrie, for those that are directly affected, they're going to cope at a number of different speeds in a number of different ways. It is important, as you mentioned, to be able to reach out, to have those open avenues, but to do it at your own speed. What's your advice for those young, old, across all ages and all sectors of our community to perhaps get back out slowly and reach out to their community for that connection that you mentioned can be so important in times like this?
Sure. Don't assume that it's going to look any certain way. I mean, even my own children are students in Bloomfield, so they were in lockdown yesterday. And although they're not of the Jewish faith, they did experience the lockdown. So like they were different last night. One was exceptionally tired. One was exceptionally hyper. So, I mean, I think for parents, it's not so much thinking that your kid's going to be a certain way. It's sort of being ready for any way that they are. And one of the things we want to see is that it dissipate over time. So of course, today you might have a lot of questions or a lot of agitation or a lot of nerves. But what we'd like to see is it incrementally gets smaller the days as we move away from this. And if you're seeing that intensity stay the same, that would certainly be an opportunity to have an evaluation by a therapist or psychologist or someone to say, hey, like, we would just, after any kind of event, we would like to see it trickle towards normalcy. And if it's not, then it definitely needs to be revisited by a professional.
And normalcy is going to look different for everybody directly involved that may have been there on site, had family members there on site, have connections to our community, both here in West Bloomfield Township, throughout the state of Michigan, and all across the globe with connections close to home. Carrie, I want to thank you very much for joining us and for providing this advice that is very much in need for many in our community today.
Thank you for having me.